You're listening to WPVM LP Asheville 103.7, globally at WPVMFM.org. And this is the Home Business Success Show. Greetings and welcome to the Home Business Success Show. I'm your host, Hank Eder, also known as Hank the PR Guy. Folks who run home businesses have some great advantages over brick and mortar businesses. They also face unique challenges. As we speak with home business entrepreneurs on the show each week, we'll gain valuable insights on how to balance business and life and to share best practices for people who run home businesses. Our first guest, Karlee Salvetti, opened her business, Salvetti Marketing, in October of 2019 with the dream of helping small business owners gain a piece of their precious time back by managing their presence on social media. She is the girl behind the scenes, making sure that when your customer gets to your social media account, everything is in tip-top shape from pictures to posts. With a focus on small business, she is able to dive deep and really try to understand the target markets for her clients. When she is not working on her business, Karlee is hanging out with her husband and their dog Hank, good name for a dog, by the way, drinking coffee, reading a book, watching movies, or engaging in her favorite activity of all, sleep. Welcome to the show, Karlee.
Hi, Hank. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Would you please tell us about Salvetti Marketing, a bit about what you offer to your clients?
Sure. Yeah. I offer three different components within Salvetti Marketing. The first would be the social media management. And there I help small businesses show off what they are about, why they're doing what they're doing, as well as creating their content, providing their strategies, education, and really giving them a peace of mind so that they're not stressed about the social media world, which it can be very stressful. The second component would be brand photography. Whether or not you have a social media package, I do offer that as a service. So with brand photography, I take the portraits. I take pictures of your product and your day-to-day environment as you work. So if you don't have a product and you have a service, then we will take pictures of you working. So it's really as simple and easy as that. The third component that I offer is custom virtual backgrounds. And due to COVID, it's a new service that small businesses can utilize to really refine their look. A lot of small businesses don't have the awesome office space as they used to. So it's really a nice little piece that I like to offer for my clients to really showcase their business in a very unique way.
Well, it's a very nice touch. And I think I'd like to point out to our listeners, especially those who are thinking of adding photographs to their website or to their social media, that I can't stress enough the importance of having it professionally done. Because if you just, stick your cell phone out and take a little selfie, it sends a picture to the world, and often the picture that's sent to the world is the first picture they see. So go with a professional for sure. Well, Karlee, how did you get started in this business?
So I started my journey at the YMCA here in Asheville, and there is where I really learned about all things marketing. The YMCA has a beautiful marketing platform, and it's just gorgeous, and I really loved what they did with it. There at the center that I was working at was brand ambassador. So I did the social media posts I did the graphics, the posters, the flyers that you would see in the center. And there I just felt like what I was doing was really helping the business and really understanding like what people are attracted to and like what grabs people's attention. And so when my journey ended at the YMCA, I started this business in that same hope of grabbing the attention of your ideal customer and really putting that forward to growing your business online.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's one thing you wish you had known when you started your career?
This is a two-part question or two-part answer. One is that you don't have to know everything to really be successful. Like perfection doesn't exist. People don't want perfection. They just want you to show up and be real and authentic and yourself. That's what they want to buy from. That's what they really truly want to see. So that would be the first thing that I would say you need to know is you don't have to be perfect. You can just show up like you are, and people are going to respect that a little bit more. The second thing I would say is networking. Networking groups was a huge turn of my success and turn of my business, and just being with those like-minded people to bounce ideas off of or just have the support was really an asset to my business. And I would definitely say start off there. Even if it's day 2 of your business being launched, go to networking groups.
Right. And an important thing about networking groups is that you really have to show up and you have to keep showing up. And as the last show we did on relationship marketing was about, just going to the network meetings is part of the picture, but building the relationships with the people there is a much more important part of the picture.
Exactly.
You offer those different services in your business. Would you say that one of these is your favorite?
Yes. I love social media management. I love creating content. I like creating the graphics within the, within the content of like making sure that everything is consistent and compliant with your brand and your business. And I also really love doing the research, which is something I wouldn't have thought that I would enjoy the most, but I do. I love understanding the business as a whole and really being really detailed in the business that I'm working with. So each client I do the same extensive research with, and I really do try to get into the head of the business owner and understand their why and why they created their business. So the research part is probably one of my favorite things.
That's certainly not what I would have expected, that the research part would be your favorite thing, but everybody has, their own whatever turns them on, so to speak.
Yeah, you learn something new when you open a business.
There you do. What advice would you give to someone who was looking to start a career similar to yours?
I would definitely say do the research and ask questions. I think one of the biggest things that I have learned is to ask the question that you don't think that you think should be asked. I think that a lot of us who start a business just want it to jump right in and like it be fine the whole time. And I feel like the first year, for 6 months, is like information overload and you have a lot of things on your plate. And without doing the research of, who you want to market to, what their interests are, or even like how to do basic business stuff of like how to be organized or, your weaknesses, research your weaknesses and really define those. And then ask questions, seek out the people that are your elders of your field and really kind of get to know what has worked in the past and what hasn't, and what really caters to you and how you can refine that to your business.
That's very cool. I think, though, that when dealing with some things that haven't worked in the past, maybe we shouldn't be shy to take a new approach to something that hasn't worked in the past, put our own spin on it and see if we can make it work. And at the very worst, we can chalk it off to inexperience. If it didn't work, at least we know that it won't even work this way. But when you say be real and show up, I think that also means bring your own particular level of expertise or your own, bring your personality and bring what you believe into what you do.
I agree.
What are some resources that have helped you along the way?
Social media blogs, isn't that ironic? They have honestly, they've been a lifesaver for me of just being in the know of what is changing in the field. Sprout Social, love Sprout Social. They've really helped me stay on top of what's new and what's coming and what's changing, and how to effectively use these changes to your best ability. I've also done a lot with the social media platform blogs as well. They don't make it easy to find those, but if you can find those, definitely utilize those blogs. Google Drive is also one of the things that has been a resource that I took for granted at first, but have come to respect and enjoy, and I've learned a lot. But it's one of the resources that I really do fall on almost every time, every day I'm in Google for something. My last resource that I invested in very early in my career was Social Curators by Jasmine Starr. Later I'll kind of go into a little more of her and her story and why she's so relevant to me, but I come across her very early in my career, and she has a platform that creatives can come, business owners can come and utilize each other as support and bounce questions off of, and have that platform. Like I said, networking is such a wonderful resource. But it was one.
Would you repeat the name of that platform, please?
Sure. It's Social Curators with Jasmine Starr.
Social Curator with Jasmine Starr.
Yeah. She's been, honestly, being in that community has really helped me understand me as a business owner, and really helped define some skill sets.
Okay, just a reminder to those who may just have tuned in. You're listening to WPVM LP Asheville 103.7, globally at WPVMFM.org. And this is the Home Business Success Show. I'm your host, Hank Eder. My guest in this segment is Karlee Salvetti, owner of Salvetti Marketing. You mentioned that particular platform and someone who is connected to it, Jasmine, which brings me to the fact that we all have people we admire, and sometimes we have mentors. We all really should have mentors along the way. Who are the people who have been the most influential to you?
My number one would definitely be my husband. If he wasn't the persistent man he is, I would not have kind of come to find my entrepreneur brain. He is the one who sparked the interest of, you should own your own business. You should totally own your own business. And him being by my side and really helping me and supporting me through that has been such a blessing to my business. The second would be Tony Robbins, which I thought he was crazy at first and probably still do. But understanding who you are as a person and what you can bring to the table. And Tony Robbins has had these challenges that I've been a part of that have really brought me into the awareness of who I am and who I want my business to portray, and getting my personality out there, and really being okay with the imperfection. And I think I've embraced that, and it's because of him and his work that I have grown even in the last 6 months of just being a business owner and understanding who I am and what I stand for. And like I said before, Jasmine Starr is probably one of the earliest influencers who I've probably seen like the most impact as well, because she brings forth to the table her personality, and I fell in love with her message, because it's basically just do the dang thing. And when I hear that, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm just going to show up. I'm going to show up no matter what. Even if I feel terrible that day, I'm going to still show up. I'm going to still post. I'm going to still engage with my people on social media, because if I can't build my business, no one else is going to build it. So she's been a great influence of my business as well.
Very good. And that reminds me of a message that I always like to give to home business people, which is relevant to all business people, is that you have to be in there consistently, day in and day out. And it's not an easy overnight success. One of our earlier guests, Jeff Percival, said that behind his overnight success was, I believe he said, 35 years of work. So yeah, you have to show up.
Yeah.
What is one common myth about your profession or field that you would like to debunk?
I've said this before, and I'll say it time and time again: perfection. I feel like in the social media world, it tends to be the prettiest picture or the best post, or how to be better, or, you know, competing with other people. And it is not true. You need to show up. Of course, if you want to have a pretty picture, please have the pretty picture. But really, you know, I guess I've just learned within the past 6 months of, you know, no, perfection is not a thing. If you continue to focus on being a perfectionist and, you know, oh, does it sound right? Or oh, is that picture good enough? You're going to fail. You're going to fail you, and you're going to fail your business, and you're going to fail your followers, because they don't care about whether your picture is too far to the left or too far to the right. They just want to see you, and they want you to show up. So I feel like that is probably one of the biggest myths. And there's probably more, but for me, I think that's one of the biggest ones of like,
Right. And that brings me back to something you said earlier about research. And when you put out that picture and you put out those words, you could then do the research and see if that brings them in, especially if you're looking for some kind of a call to action, some kind of reaction from your audience on social media. And if those particular words and that particular picture don't bring them in, don't feel bad about it. Just pick another picture, rewrite some words. Sometimes it's just the headline that could make the difference between whether something works or something doesn't. One last thing I want to say about the pictures is that people tend to oversimplify things on social media. You know, you read about how people love children and they love, you know, puppies and they love kittens, and that is true. However, if your message has nothing to do with children or puppies and kittens, and you choose to use that, you may create a disconnect in the people who are seeing your message. So don't be too eager to put just the cute picture up and think that's going to bring them in.
Exactly.
What are some of the ways you separate home life from business life?
So what I do is I have time. I have hours. I have business hours, and I stick to those. You know, if my husband and I are going on a walk with Hank at lunch, I don't bring my phone. If we are having dinner, then that is dinner time. I do not use my phone. Of course, there's definitely like certain things that like come up, and they're like, okay, let me do this really quick. But when you have boundaries between your personal life and your work life, it makes harmony a lot better. My husband and I definitely have our routines of like, you know, I do my yoga every morning, and if I don't have that time for me, then I can't have time for someone else. So just sticking to those boundaries of like, okay, these are my set hours, these are my set things, and my family is why I started this business, so I could have more time with them. So if I didn't set those boundaries, then I wouldn't be true to who I am, and I wouldn't be true to who my family is, and ultimately my business.
That makes sense. So boundaries are really the key. Uh, would you give any advice, or what kind of advice would you give to someone who is looking to start a home business?
Just do it. I think that was probably one of my biggest um, memories of my husband and I talking about me starting a business, and he's like, just do it. Like, let's just do it. Like, we totally have everything we need, and we didn't really have that much. And so we just did it. And I think just getting over the fear of like, oh, are they gonna like me? Oh, is this what people need? Just do it and find out and innovate.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, having the home business does have unique challenges. One is that we don't have conference rooms in our homes. So it's not like we could call together a meeting of our clients and their employees, or their marketing people, to come over to the conference room, which might be our dining room table. So where is it that you meet with clients when you have to do that on occasion?
Well, due to COVID, I am doing Zoom a lot more often, but I do have a socially distanced coffee date every now and then. But mainly it's Zoom. I know that we don't have this space right now to do like in-home meetings. Definitely, I think in the future that's a thing that could potentially happen. But right now it's just Zoom, and that's why I created my virtual backgrounds.
There you go. And you see, I'm sitting in a virtual background. And one of the downsides to that I've mentioned before is that when I turn my head, my ears and my headphones tend to pop in and out, but that's a small price to pay for the convenience of being able to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Going back though, even when you do have the space in your home for a small conference room or something like that, we still have to be vigilant about who we're allowing into our homes. And that also tends to cross the boundaries sometimes. So
Exactly.
I would say that you really need to know your client very well before they come to a home office.
Exactly. It's like, one of those virtual first dates. You have to meet in a public area, you know?
Mhm. Uh, what kind of a home office setup do you have?
Well, I right now have, of course, my two monitors that I work off of. It's pretty standard, uh, nothing really too specific. But I do have a lot of inspirational quotes and pictures of my family and books and lots of coffee, always at my
Mhm.
desk side. But yeah, it's the two monitors I feel like is has been a huge game changer for productivity and organization as well.
Very good.
Mm.
One of the guests on my last show pointed out the importance of having a sitting and standing desk, and I've been thinking of doing that for some time because one of the occupational hazards of the home business, of course, is that you tend to sit around a whole lot. So then, do you schedule? I heard you say you're into yoga in the morning. Do you schedule other kind of stretch breaks or other kind of exercises during the day?
Yeah, so I do my yoga in the mornings. We do if I tend to get really focused, my husband will come in and say, hey, let's take a little coffee break together and stretch it out or something like that. But we do take walks with Hank before lunch, and we take a walk before dinner, and we also do like work out together and things like that. So that's something that's very dear to my husband's side of life. He's the workout person, but he definitely keeps me on my toes of like, you've been there a while. Let's just get up and like walk around. Let's go outside and go on the deck and get some fresh air and things like that, which is really important for your health and for your productivity.
And probably for your sanity. My,
Amen to that.
my wife does that for me. Sometimes I'm just in here and I'm buried in something, and she'll say, get up and do a stretch. There's something we do that's called the foundation stretch. and she'll
Mhm.
say, get up and do a stretch. And sometimes I have to say, okay, I'll be up in a minute or two, because, you know, some of what we do can get pretty technical and can be pretty complex, and you can't always jump right up. But then she's good at setting the timer for once an hour so that I hear that thing beep and have to get up and do the stretch.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd spend an awful lot of time just sitting.
Yeah. Same. I'm like,
Yeah.
I get very focused.
Yes, yes, we do. Um, in what ways do you use to stay organized, and ways that you use to stay motivated? You mentioned you have to show up every day, but I think we also have to feel good about showing up every day. So I guess we should think of that in as two different topics:
Mhm.
organization and motivation.
Sure. Yeah. I love paper. I'm a paper person. I know that's really terrible, but I love lists. I always have a notebook with me of blank paper, and I just write down some lists of what I need to get done today, or like random thoughts that have come into my mind of like, hey, this just popped in my head. I'm just going to write that down really quick. I love lists. My Google documents have been such a wonderful asset to my life. But I think just having those systems in place of however you can stay organized, if it's a list, if it's a document, if it's a brain dump every morning of understanding, okay, this is where my thoughts are and things like that, and keeping them organized. I also have a Google Calendar and a paper calendar, which my husband, that just gives him anxiety. But I love it because like I can schedule and then I can write it down. And when I write something down, I remember it better. So that's how it's probably the worst way to organize, but that's how it happens in my head. And that's how I can keep everything pretty organized and understanding what today holds, really.
Well, it may not be the worst way to organize if it works for you.
It's true. That's very
Yes.
true.
And how do you stay motivated to do what you do every day?
I think for me, it's waking up and doing my yoga. And when I do my yoga, I really do think about why I am doing what I'm doing. Why am I getting up and working every day? Why did I quit my 9 to 5 job to do this? And just understanding really who I'm doing it for, my family, myself, the business owners that I'm helping, and keeping that in mind of I'm doing this for others and I'm doing this for myself. And that's my motivation. Like, and that's why I have pictures of all of them around my desk. And I have motivational quotes and Bible verses of like keeping my center. And just like, okay, this is a hard day, but this is where we're at.
That sounds very good.
Mhm.
And you mentioned quitting the 9 to 5 job to start this. And for a lot of people that are in the process of starting home businesses, some are doing it because they chose to. They just wanted to leave where they were and start something new. Others are doing it because in the pandemic, they lost their jobs. And once they've been home for a while, some of them realize, well, I like this. So what can I do to make this profitable and make this work so that I could actually stay here and do this? Others have stayed with their 9 to 5 jobs, but they work from home. So it's all a different set of circumstances for each person. But I think that for some, actually leaving that 9 to 5 can be scary. But actually, you know, I was going to ask you some things about that, but we're actually getting very short on time. So I'd like to ask, how can our listeners contact you? How do they find you?
I am on all social media platforms at Salvetti Marketing, and you can visit my website at salvettimarketing.com.
All right. And would you like to share an email?
Yes, it is admin at salvettimarketing.com.
Okay, and for those who are hearing us on the radio and not seeing that beautiful virtual background, Salvetti Marketing is Salvetti. Don't forget there's those two T's. Karlee, it's been great being here with you today. Thank you for coming and being part of our show.
Thank you so much, Hank. It's been an amazing pleasure.
You're listening to WPVM LP Asheville 103.7, globally at WPVMFM.org. and this is the Home Business Success Show. I'm your host, Hank Eder. Are you enjoying this and other fine shows on WPVM? If you are, I'd like to share a few thoughts with you. There are things in your life that just don't change, even in the time of COVID-19, like needing a cup of coffee to start the day, listening to national news at 8 a.m., or an informative science or talk show while you're running errands. Enjoying afternoons filled with WPVM's local music or keeping up with theater and concert news. Listening to uplifting stories about small businesses and nonprofits that support our community. Or doing your weekend chores accompanied by superb, locally produced music programs. In presenting these features to the community, we tell the stories of local artists, nonprofits, and small businesses at no cost to them. In the morning or on the way home at 2 a.m. or over the weekend, WPVM is here for you. It's radio you rely on, and it's only possible with your support. Giving takes just 2 minutes of your time. Your gift, no matter how small, helps WPVM bring you the news, music, and the stories you rely on. The benefits will be here for you every day in the form of local programming that reflects the authentic culture of Asheville. Use the links found on WPVMFM.org to make a single or recurring contribution, or send your gift to WPVM at 34 Wall Street, number 407, Asheville, North Carolina, 28801. Thank you for appreciating WPVM LP. My next guest is Rob, also known as Super Rob, the Super Signguy. Rob was born and grew up in Boca Raton, Florida. His influence were his parents. His mother was a graphics designer and his father was an architect. Rob says he fell right in the middle. He fell in love with signs when he was young and now has over 30 years experience in the sign industry. According to Rob, he eats, sleeps, and breathes signs. He has worked many positions in the sign industry, from table production and production management all the way up to general manager and consultant. Rob moved to Asheville 18 months ago. He's an avid Appalachian trail hiker, doing sections with his son each year. He's also a certified whitewater rafting guide. Passionate about new people and places, Rob is always expanding his horizons and enjoying life. His goal is to grow the Super Signguy brand big enough to franchise so he can help others grow their passion the way he has enjoyed doing. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, you know, I saw that you had this influence of your mother being a graphics designer. Would you say that influenced you in getting into the sign business, or what is it exactly that got you into the sign business?
Absolutely. My mom used the computer for babysitting, so she would take me to work with her and put me in front of an Apple IIe, and off I went. And I learned a little of this, a little of that as we went. And as I got older, my dad's architectural influence too, same thing, set me down in front of a computer, showed me what a plotter was. And at 12, I was making architectural plans and plotting them out. So with those two things, I kind of just developed a knack for building things with my hands and designing them on the computer, which ultimately led to the sign career. So it's kind of interesting. It's funny how things work out.
Yes, they do. If we let them work out.
Yep.
When did you first become a self-employed businessman?
When I was probably 18, I had a little lawn business that I ran, and so I did that on the side. And you know, I've done little things as a child growing up, so I've always had a little entrepreneur self.
Okay. Well, what do you suppose drove you to want to have your own business?
A single mom, struggling with money, being a child and living in a nice city where all the other kids had money, just drove me to go out and make money on my own. If I couldn't find a job, there wasn't a reason why I couldn't make money, walking around the neighborhood finding things to do. So kind of leads that direction.
That's certainly self-motivated.
Yeah.
Well, in the beginning, when you were in the sign business, you worked for others, right? You worked your way up through the sign business
Yep.
and learned the business inside out that way.
Yep.
In the beginning, did you find it difficult to juggle the responsibilities of being a business owner with performing the day-to-day tasks you need to do to grow your business?
Oh gosh, absolutely. I worked full time at the same time as starting the company, so juggling that and then all the ins and outs of what you have to do to start a business and licensing and sales and yeah, it was a struggle.
What did you find perhaps the most challenging out of all of that?
Working capital. Coming from my own and pretty much generating my own working capital, I had to work and save to build it. And then the nice thing about the sign industry, it lends it to some 50% up front, 50% at the end. So sometimes you can get some of the working capital in advance, which is what I ultimately learned is the right way to do it in our industry.
So in other words, if someone wants a sign job and that sign job, and I'm just making up a figure, let's say that sign job is going to cost them $600, they have to put up $300 up front. And then with that $300, you could get the supplies and the things that you need to at least get that part of the job done.
Yep.
And then the other side of it is, I suppose, getting paid. But then you had to deal with billing and all of that kind of stuff
Yep.
that the people who work for a living, that work for others don't have to deal with those things.
Yep.
How do you run your business without being a brick and mortar?
I've done a lot of networking, so I get out of the house a little bit here and there. Since the pandemic, we've done a lot of Zooms and reaching out throughout the country and it's just general sales. But I find it a lot more flexible and easier to manage. It helps me provide a less expensive alternative to what's out there, and not in the respect of quality or any kind of service, but in the respect of that I don't have the overhead to carry with in the price tag. And so that gives me a slight competitive edge. And it just, like I said, the flexibility of working from home has been great.
Let's say you are about to be interviewed or interview a new client. Being a home-based business, how do you get the point across to them? Do you meet them somewhere and show them samples? Do you get online? I mean, what is it that you do to get your ideas across?
I got you. So it depends on what type of sign it is, but for the most part, since I do this over a lot of distance as well in Florida and Houston, I rely on a lot of free services like Google Earth and those type of services to be able to, we call it a Google drive-by. When somebody gives me their address and I have to check out a sign, I can do a Google drive-by and actually get the information right off of online. If it's just a general sign like a banner or yard sign, a lot of times I can walk them through the process over the phone or via email, a very simple transaction. And when you get up into those larger signs where they're vehicle wraps or building signs, I have salespeople in locations that I send out to handle that personal touch. And then it gets relayed back to me, and then I kind of close the sale with all the other details. So I don't necessarily need to meet my customer in person, though I have that element in place because I enjoy that personal touch as well. So I kind of can go both directions with that.
What advice would you give to anyone thinking of starting their own home-based business?
That's a good one. So, as any book or person going into business would tell you, is always work where you want to work first or what you want to do first. Research what you want to do, be passionate about it when you set forth on it, and save money for those unexpected times.
Because there will be unexpected times,
Yeah,
right?
a lot of people start businesses and go, "Ooh, we're just going to hit the road, and money's going to come in, and you'll hit the road, all right." And you'll pause for a second. It'll come in. It's not on your terms.
Mhm. Yeah, so passion, that's something when I've been speaking to other home business owners, that keeps coming up. Be passionate about what you do. Have a reason for waking up every day and just, don't go into a business that you know you're not going to like.
Right. Yeah. Honestly.
Last week at the Incredible Business Networking's evening social, you told me about a tool that you use to stay organized. What is that tool and how does it help you in your business?
Well, it's Trello. It's a free software. It's also paid software, so you can use it monthly. But it's a management tool that helps me organize my process, and it's customizable, so any business can go in and create their own process. It's kind of like a to-do list on steroids. So what's nice about it is not only do I get to keep myself organized through the process, but I can invite my team members, my installers, my salesmen, and create other, they call them boards, that they can visualize and keep their sales process in line as well. So it's helping keep business flowing through a process that I can have benchmarks and documentation, not only for tracking purposes, but for expansion as well. So, I can build these templates and cards and boards and set them up and then automate them to a person basically and say, this is what you have to follow, which helps that expansion, to let go of some things.
So it's a to-do list, but is it also like a calendar?
It can integrate to a calendar, so it syncs with your Google Calendar or your home calendar or whichever way you set it up. It's pretty powerful. Since I started using it, in the past I've used other ways of creating systems, but this one had really just made my head explode, and it just accelerated everything that I wanted to do in a good way, and kept me accountable, which is the most important thing when you're in business, is holding yourself accountable.
Well, that's excellent. And you say it's called
Trello.
Trillo, Trillo?
Trello.
Oh, Trello, Trello. I'll
Yeah,
have to look that one up myself.
cool.
Well, in case you're just tuning in, you're listening to WPVM LP Asheville 103.7 globally at WPVMFM.org. And this is the Home Business Success Show. I'm your host, Hank Eder. My guest in this segment is Super Rob, the Super Signguy. Rob, what makes you different than other sign companies?
Well, we stride on the services first. I feel, since I'm from the 80s, and I feel like a big business has kind of left service behind. I've got this ambition to bring it back in full force. And, none of this call and wait on the phone for answers or call and get a call back 3 days later. We are right on top of it. We can call you back in 24 hours, if not faster than that, just most cases. And then just the process in general, I've streamlined our process so simple that we've taken out all of the extra costs that are associated in the normal sign process. Same materials, same logistics, same quality, same name brands, 3M and so on. Just I've eliminated some of the middlemen that go along with that process. And so just like Walmart does, is I hold my vendor that I purchase to a certain standard of pricing that I want to achieve, and I pass that right to the customer. So not having the overhead, the system in place to streamline the product, and then the service to go with it really changes the ballpark of how you would deal with a normal sign company.
Well, a number of years ago, I worked with an advertising agency manager on a project that we were doing together, and he was fond of saying, customers are won on our charisma, but they're lost on customer service.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a very important part. And I think that for a lot of small businesses, making customer service first is probably one of the best things they can do to not only attract but maintain a customer base.
I agree.
You know how the word spreads when you do a good job and you treat somebody well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the word really spreads. Rob, do you hold any certifications?
I do. I've been trained 3M certified. Our installers that work on vehicle wraps are trained 3M certified. It's a standard in our industry that we like to hold so that our warranties stay in place. So if we have any issues with any kind of vinyl peeling or cracking, we can basically rely on those kind of certifications to be able to accommodate the customer.
Would you tell me just a bit about vehicle wrapping? What does that involve?
That is normally a full vehicle wrap is normally encasing a car with vinyl graphics, and it can be a color change, simple as red to blue or metallics or even flats. But it can be digital too, which is in most cases businesses are investing in their image and they want to be able to be noticed. So we take a car and we pretty much put their name on it.
Can you wrap pretty much any vehicle?
Just about. I've done anything from an Airstream, which is basically a beach ball, all the way up to a semi-truck.
How do signs like vehicle wraps and other types of signs that businesses would use generate new leads for businesses?
Good question. So it's about visibility. A typical vehicle wrap can generate thousands of impressions while driving around. One of the most important things a home-based business could have. And then the other things are things you see all the time while driving around, yard signs. And so they can generate call to actions that help people want to seek out products, services that are being sold. And then, banners and feather flags we see a lot of, those help draw attention to locations. But for the home-based business, I would say, vehicle magnets, window graphics, things that you're naturally just out and about, even branding in general, your attire, hats, and stuff like that, all ties into that brand. And when you don't have a brick and mortar, you can't just rely on a sign out front. So you kind of rely on a few different ways to sell.
Okay, well, obviously, home-based businesses don't use signs in front of their businesses, and sometimes in certain areas, I don't know, in North Carolina, in different areas you don't have those issues, but in some areas you've got the zoning issues, so you can't exactly stick a yard sign about your business in front of your home.
Right.
But what are the top 3 products you would recommend to home-based businesses?
Definitely a window graphic. We sell a lot of back window perf, which is a one-way film. You can see out it, but you can't see in it. It's a great way to display your business and get all your information on in one shot. It's probably the most seen part of your vehicle, the back. So like I said, it's probably the best scenario. The other options would be vehicle magnets. So the home business, you want to be able to drive around to on your own privately and be a business. So you have the option of taking it off and putting it on, which is very useful. And some people live in associations where they have homeowners associations that have rules that say they can't have vehicle stuff on the car. So that's a great way to do it. Another thing is it's not technically a sign, but it's something that I think that anybody could use is business cards. And then the last, I think, would be, like you see behind me in Zooms and things, some sort of backdrop that identifies your business. A lot of people have digital ones, but since I'm a sign guy, I stay true to what I do.
So then you're saying that whoever would be a home-based business could get a sign like that and put it up on the wall behind them when they're doing business on Zoom.
Yep.
And yeah,
Yep.
other online kind of video kind of conferences.
Yep.
That definitely makes sense. What haven't we covered that you would like to tell our listeners?
I don't know. Just I guess an important thing for me has been successful is being out and being visible. And that doesn't mean being physically out. That means being out on Zoom, in webinars, meeting people through chat, any way possible to get your name out there, even like third-party links. Being a home-based business is tough because you don't have that brick and mortar relying on the drive-by all day long. And just, I guess it's just networking. It's been number one for me.
You know, I've noticed at the network meetings that you are pretty personable. You know, you get out there, you don't have any trouble talking to the people, getting your ideas across. Some home business owners are a little bit more reserved and a little bit shy. Do you have any words of advice to them to get them into networking more, to be able to get their message out more effectively?
Absolutely. So a lot of people say that about me is I come natural. However, what you're not seeing is I'm shaking like a leaf on the inside. So we all come a long way from that. And I think if I could remember back when I started networking, when I was like in my 30s, I didn't believe in it. And I'd show up and expect that people are just going to throw cards at me, and I'd walk out of there and yay, hey. And then I realized it is really about that person, the personable touch, and listening to people and building relationships. Honestly, that's what networking is about. And so you just have to take that approach. And for me, getting to know people has been the factor that you see. I'm out there more outgoing, and so those people that I'm around now are friends, not prospects. And that's the mentality you have to be in to be able to get over that. Because if you're looking for rejection, you're going to find it. It's out there, but just being friends with people, you won't get that.
Well, that ties into something that we had when David Riddell was on the show last week, and he spoke of relationship marketing,
Yeah,
and ways of getting yourself out there so that you will be remembered as
Yep.
more than just the sign on your car or the sign on the door. And it goes along with, like you say, listening to people, and even doing good things for people when you get a chance. If there's little things you can do for people that you meet day to day, and the people that you meet in networking events, if you can do something nice for them,
Yep.
you'll always be remembered for that.
Absolutely.
And one of the things, oh, go on.
I was gonna say my fiance uses the term, and don't forget this, is everybody likes cheese. So they like it on their burgers, they like it on their hot dogs, and they like a little bit in the feel of things. So it's okay to be a little cheesy sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes cheese is good. Not too many people don't like cheese.
Right.
Well, when you've got a sense of humor like you and me and Dave, we can be cheesy pretty easy.
Yeah, that's true.
See, there we go. I'm even a poet. And but one of the things that I remember, I mentioned this when David was on the show. One of the first things that impressed me about him was we were at an expo in Madison County, and I was casting around for, well, how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to put this banner up on this piping? You know, and I'm there trying to figure it out. And David saw me doing that, and he just stopped what he was doing and hopped up on a chair and started hanging my banner. And that's a pretty darn good example of how we can create goodwill and relationship marketing, because I'll always remember that about David. You know, I'll always remember some of his music jokes and some of the corny stuff that we share, but still the very first thing was that incredible favor that he did for me. So that, you know, it's like paying it forward whenever you get a chance. Do something nice for somebody, and they will always remember you for that. And another thing about networking, I think, and maybe you found the same thing, is that it's not always the people at the networking meeting themselves who are going to call you up and do business with you, but you get to know them well enough. They recommend you.
Yep.
Hey, you need a sign? I know this guy, Super Rob, that can handle your sign no time flat. And that's the kind of thing that we're looking for.
Some of the smallest connections turn into the biggest sales.
There you go. And also, it's showing up. It's being there regularly.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Because if we just, you show up at a Zoom meeting once every 6 months or so and talk mostly about what you do and don't listen to anyone else, that's not the referral type.
No, you gotta stay top of mind.
There you go. What are some other ways that you know of that you could stay top of mind?
So I use a gimmick. I use the hands on the hips, saving the world one sign at a time. And so that's created such a little buzz that I didn't expect, that people will even come up to me and go, "Oh, you're the guy that does the." So things like that just people remember. And then branding. Dave will admit to this, or it's what he does for a living. So honestly, it's his nature to say it. But hats, logos, everything you can do to make yourself branded, people recognize and walk away with it. So it's the full package.
Yeah, I used to go to the live business meetings before COVID-19 out there in Asheville, and my business card has a fiddlehead fern on it as part of my logo, and I would always say, well, look for my card. It's the one with the fiddlehead fern on the logo. And one time at the meeting, I didn't say that. And somebody raised his hand and said, aren't you going to mention the card with the fiddlehead fern on the logo? And that's really what you just said, is because people start to recognize you for certain things. And once they have that familiarity, it's good to play on it. That's why I like to say, I'm Hank, also known as Hank the PR guy. And there it is on my hat, Hank the PR guy.
That's what I know you as.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you as Super Rob, the Super Signguy. So it's good. We've got this little bit of cheese going for us.
Right.
Well, I think that you've given us a pretty good idea of what home businesses can do and what kind of signs home businesses need. Thanks for sharing all this insight about how you run your home business and things that other home businesses can use that are of help to them, and the types of signs that home businesses can use. Now I'd like you to share your email and phone number and website so our listeners can get in touch with you.
Sure. My email is thesupersignguy@gmail.com. The phone number is 866-876-7446 or 866-876-SIGN. Our website is www.thesupersignguy.com.
Rob, thank you so much for being here with us today. I've really appreciated spending this time with you.
I appreciate it too.
Thanks for tuning in with us today. Before I sign off, I'd like to say that there are some great resources available for people who run home businesses, including an online community of like-minded home business entrepreneurs. If you want to learn more, please drop me an email at hank@hankeater.com. Please join us again next week. We'll be back every Friday at 10 a.m. here on WPVM LP, Asheville 103.7, and on the web globally at WPVMFM.org. Here's wishing all of you a fabulous day of home business success.
You're listening to WPVM LP Asheville 103.7, globally at WPVMFM.org. And this is the Home Business Success Show.